Hello, everyone, and welcome to the panel presents Comic Talk. Today, we're going to catch up with what our guests are doing. We'll talk about the first comics that made us cry and our top picks for our favorite all ages comics. It's all coming up next on Comic Talk. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Comic Talk, where we get together with a panel of guests to talk about our favorite print medium. With us today is the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day, Ashton Greenwood.
Hey, howdy, hey, what's up, guys?
And our special guest today from All Yeah Comics, please welcome Art Baltazar.
Woohoo! Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How's everyone doing?
Pretty good.
Great.
Everyone getting a lot of chances to do some stuff, I'm hoping, and get some work in that they hadn't.
Yeah, it never stopped. I've been in quarantine since 2003, so this feels very normal to me. Yeah.
So, Art, let's get to know you a little bit. You know, you've worked on titles like Itty Bitty Hellboy, Itty Bitty Mask, DC Super Pets, Superman Family Adventures, and the Eisner Award-winning Tiny Titans, to name a few.
Yeah.
All super cute. But before that, when did you first know that you wanted to be an artist?
Oh my God! Since I'm a little kid, I've been drawing my own characters and cartoon characters since I'm a little 4, 5, 6 years old. And when I was in 5th grade is when I started drawing in little notebooks. And my dad gave me a notebook one time. He came home from work, and you know when the workers would have these little notebooks in their coat pocket, so he gave me one little spiral notebook. And I wrote on it my life story, and every page I drew a character. And then the next week he gave me another book and another book. And I filled up about 7 or 8, maybe 10 of these things. And eventually I ran out of characters to draw, so I started drawing my own guys. And that's where it started. That was in 5th grade. And I still have all these books in my dresser drawer. They're somewhere in my house. And that's kind of when I started making cartoon characters. And I knew when I was in 5th grade that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life. I just knew it. It's like giving a little kid a tennis racket. They're gonna grow up to challenge Venus Williams in the championship, you know, or Tiger Woods, you know.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and so your art kind of tends to lean towards, that all ages style. And so, no pun intended, what draws you to that kind of style, and what influences your artistic choices?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Hanna-Barbera, McGilla Gorilla, Fred Flintstone, even Woody Woodpecker, Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, all that stuff. I grew up a lot with cartoons, a lot of cartoons and comic books like Richie Rich and Casper and any cartoon comic book we could find. And comic books were always in my house because my older cousin would come over and just leave the comics in my house, or we go to the Polish deli and pick up comic books that were in like you get like 10 in a package for $1 or something like that. I was a little guy, and it was the Polish deli, and we call it Halo Halos because when I'd walk in with my mom, the guy would say, "Hello, Mrs." And so she would say, "Come on, let's go to Halo Halos, buy some comics." So I would get comics, but none of them would ever have covers. So I didn't know comic books had covers for years. I would just get these books that they were just, they felt like newspaper to me. And so when my cousins started coming over, when he was in high school, I was about 6, 7, 8. I was a little guy. I know it was before Star Wars. So it was before 1977. So he would come over with his muddy gym shoes and his cleats, his football cleats and his helmet, and dump all the stuff in the kitchen. My mom would yell at him, but then he would have the stack of comics with the Incredible Hulk, and it said TV sensation. I'm like, oh, that's the Hulk. And then he brings Spider-Man, and he brought X-Men. And I didn't know who Wolverine was. I thought he was some kind of weird Batman guy, and I didn't know who these guys were. And I could barely read the words, like when you're trying to read what's Wolverine, what is that? And I remember asking my dad what a Wolverine was, and he said it's a little animal like a ferret. I'm like, why are they afraid of this guy? So that was kind of how it was. I was like, these bad guys are afraid of a hamster guy. So it was kind of weird. That was my first exposure to superhero comics and to other comics, and we just always had them, but they were always messed up. And my comics when I was a little kid they would come with no covers, but then they would fall apart faster, so I would staple them. So a lot of my older comics from when I'm a little kid had my own staples. I customized them, to make them my own. So I think that was a question, right? Yeah. So but that's what I just been collecting comics forever. It's always been here. Batman, Adam West Batman was a big influence on me. And I used to get the toys for Christmas, the Batmobile and Batman and Robin Mego toys. So all of that stuff molded little Artie Baltazar since I'm a little, 3, 4, 5 years old. And then when Star Wars hit, I was 8 years old, and that changed the landscape of everything. And now I knew I wanted to do this. Plus, I was reading X-Men, Chris Claremont X-Men, John Byrne X-Men at that time, I think it was. And everything I did all day long was awesome. Like, I have awesome movies, awesome comics. I would draw comics and make up characters. I would draw people, and I would draw characters and cut them out and put those little they look like little screws. I put them in the arms so their arms and legs would bend. So I make my own action figures out of paper. It was nuts. I just that's where it started. It went in my head and sat there, and it's still there. It's living rent free though, so it's in there. Maybe I pay the rent myself to keep it there. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Aw. Well, speaking of little Artie going and picking up, comics at the comic shop, you opened up All Yeah Comics and became a retailer. So what made you decide to open up your own comic shop?
Wow, it was weird because, like, in early 2000s, before I became real famous, I was I was trying to do the self-publishing stuff, trying to do all these make my own comics, and I was trying to figure out a way how to do it. And back then I wanted to open up a shop. But then I got a job working with Disney Adventures magazine, the little digest magazine. And that one kept me going. It kept me home. I was able to stay home and draw comics and have babies and married, have babies and have a life. But I became the stay-home dad who drew comics all day. And when I got more popular with Tiny Titans, I started doing a lot of book tours, like a lot of store visits, a lot of conventions. And along the way, I met my friend Mark Hammond, who worked at a store in Florida. I became friends with him because I would do his show. He had a show in Florida he would run. I would go to his store, did a few book signings there, like 2 or 3 signings. We'd do one a year. And then we became buddies. So one day, it was funny. Like, I forget this. You know how people's stories are your stories, but you forget their story that is your story, So when they tell you the story, it's like, oh, I remember it on my set. But anyway, I drew him and our buddy Todd, both guys who worked at the store in Florida. I drew them in a Tiny Titans book. And so he called me one day, and we were just talking, or I called him. I forget. I think I called him and said, hey, did you see Tiny Titans today? And he goes, no, I didn't read it. I said, well, go read it now. Go read it. And he read it, and he saw himself in there. And I drew him pointing at the giant gorilla saying, like, the Titano's taking over the city, and him and his buddy are in there. And he freaked out, and they were real happy. And then later on, he called me back and said that he had a bad day. And I'm like, how can you have a bad day when I put you in a Tiny Titans book with Clark Kent. You're in the same panel as Clark Kent and Lois Lane. And so he had a bad day or whatever. And then he said something like, man, I really wish I could own my own store one day. I went, I like hung up. And we had phones like this. They were like this. Or they could have been like this. But they could have been a little one. Bluetooth. I hung up my Bluetooth. Beep. And I called my buddy Franco. And then I told him, hey, we call my buddy Mark Hammond. We call him Brother Bear because he looks like a giant. He's like a giant bear. He's just a giant guy. I called him Brother Bear because I forgot his real name when I first met him. So Brother Bear stuff. And so I called Franco. And then a few minutes later, Franco calls me back and say, I just talked to Brother Bear and he's going to move to Chicago. We're going to open up our own store. Like, what? And so it was just when somebody says, man, I just want my own store. And then just say, well, go do it. It's like, man, I just want to publish my own comic. Well, go do it. So I have this real cool story I want to write. Well, go write it. That kind of mentality. I'm always the kind of guy who, if you want to do something, do it. Just don't wait for anybody to do it for you. You have to do it. So he moved to Chicago a few months later, or whatever it took him to move to Chicago, and then he showed up at my house, and we drove around the city looking for a place to put a store, and we both wanted like a town that looked like the town from Back to the Future, like that little with the clock tower and the little restaurant. We wanted a town that looked like that. Like, where can we find that? And it led us to Skokie. It's a little suburb just touching Chicago, just north of Chicago. And I'd never been to Skokie before, even though I had lived in Chicago all my life. I'm a Southside Chicago White Sox fan guy, but I'd never been on the North Side. I had no reason to go over there, so I never went. So when we found Skokie, it was a perfect spot. I thought it was in little old downtown Skokie, and we'd all open up a shop, and all of a sudden we had a comic shop, and yeah, that's the original photo there, the original location. And when we were painting the walls and things, we were coming up with names and the first thing that Brother Bear and Franco are like, what are we going to call our place? It was me, Brother Bear, and Franco are co-owners. We're all three of us own all the shops, and we're like, well, what are we going to call the place? And I said, oh yeah, comics. And they're like, yeah, because everything I say is oh yeah, lunchtime, oh yeah, morning, oh yeah, coffee, oh yeah, coffee, oh yeah, interview, oh yeah, so. Oh yeah, it's the most positive thing you could say. There's nothing negative about, oh yeah, comics. So and we thought we wanted a store that is like visiting our table and artist alley. So if you come to our table and artist alley, that's what it feels like when you come to our stores. We want that spirit, that energy, that feeling that we have. You're here to see Art and Franco and Brother Bear and have the all yeah experience, but we also sell Marvel and DC and Image. We have all these other books, so it's kind of fun. And as we're painting the walls in the place, when we first were opening, we're getting ready to open, I had an idea. I was like, we need mascots. I had an idea for mascots like Action Cat and Adventure Bug. I didn't know what their names were at the time, but I thought we need some mascots for the store because we're creating a world. And I'm thinking not just comic shop, but I'm thinking like Disney store style. Like you walk in a Disney store, Mickey Mouse is all over the place, and you're at the Disney store, and you go there to buy their product, and the Disney store product is Disney store stuff. And we thought, I want to make stuff that's just for our store, that's just all yeah comics. And I came up with a Action Cat Adventure Bug, and I got the original sketches. They look really different what you see now, but it's kind of like when you see the original Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie. He looks different than he does now because he goes through some evolutions. But as we're painting the store, I'm like, man, we should do our own comics. And then my other buddy says, you should do a Kickstarter. I'm like, what? I'm like, I have no time for Kickstarter. He goes, yeah, I'll do it for you. Like, okay. And so we did a Kickstarter. We raised some money to publish some comics, and I was thinking we could just publish comics for our store, but we end up getting 1,100 subscribers. So I mailed out all these packages, and it was nuts. And suddenly, Action Cat and Adventure Bug took on a life they took on a life and became popular before their book was even out, and it was really strange for me. And Dark Horse Comics ended up publishing some trade collections for us, and I did a series of Action Cat and Adventure Bug on there for Dark Horse, and it was kind of crazy. Everything kind of evolved because I think the energy you put out there, if something, I don't know, you just keep it going. I don't know how to explain it. Like if it ends, you do move on to the next thing. Like I've always worked on characters that wrapped up, and I moved on to the next character. And before then, it was I did Wolf Boy, Patrick the Wolf Boy comics, and that's what got the attention of DC Comics. And so it led it from there. And right when Wolf Boy ended, Tiny Titans started. And then when Tiny Titans ended, Superman Family started. And then when Superman Family ended, oh yeah, comics started. And suddenly I had all of this, Superman ended. So I let's do this other thing. And then we did, oh yeah, comics. And then Itty Bitty Hellboy came from there because Dark Horse and Mike Mignola saw what we were doing. And I got an email from Mike Mignola during our Kickstarter on Oh Yeah Comics, and he said, him and Dark Horse said, we really like what you guys are doing there. Would you like to do your style on Hellboy? Because Magnolia wanted something he could sell to kids at his table, because this stuff is more mature, PG-13 rated R content. And I'm like, sure. And that's where Itty Bitty Hellboy came out. So it's been a ride, like since 5th grade. It's never stopped. It's the same day. It's just the next day since 5th grade. I worked in all of that life stuff, like meet a girl, fall in love, have babies, and get a job, and all this stuff. I fit that in there somehow.
Right.
And now I'm doing this. And now I'm here for you. And so it's kind of it's nuts. But I prayed to baby Jesus all my life, and he's answered me. And now I pray to Jack Kirby, because Jack Kirby helps me out. I pray to baby Jesus, and he goes, all right, I got somebody. You need help with that layout design. All right. Hey, Jack. And when my art studio fills up with cigar smoke, I'm like, ooh, he's here. So I know he's here. Yeah.
So you touched on it a bit when you talked about the publishing company. So All Yeah also publishes books in addition to being a retailer. So what kind of stories do you try to tell with your All Yeah comics?
Yeah, I know. All Yeah Comics, Action Cat, and Adventure Bug are really centrally located in beautiful downtown Skokie, where the store is. But I try to make stories not only with All Yeah Comics, but with any of my characters that are beyond Action Cat and Adventure Bug. I try to make them for that kid in Utah who's never going to meet me. And I always think in my head, if that kid in Utah gets my jokes, then I know the book is good. Like, I don't want any inside jokes. I don't want any, like, if you never meet me, you have to still be able to read the book and enjoy it. And so I go into every comic book I write, every story I write, that this is going to be a kid's first book. Because I remember when I was a little guy, when I would pick up a comic, it was always in the middle of the story. And back then, there was never a number one. I think the first number one book I read was Power Pack. And it was number one. I'm like, oh my God, I could start at the beginning. It's the first number one issue ever that I've ever saw. And then like West Coast Avengers, number one. And so when you read Spider-Man and X-Men and Superman, Batman, they're always in like 300 something or 400, whatever the numbers were. And so I always have that idea that each book I write and make is going to be some kid's first book. And it comes to that. And like sometimes when I'm at comic panels or I do live shows here at Facebook, and people chime in, and I always could tell where the kid discovered me. If they love Super Pets, then I know that they read those Super Pet books. Or if they love Itty Bitty Hellboy or Action Cat or Tiny Titans. And the coolest part about all that is kids don't care about companies. They don't know that Spider-Man can't meet Superman. They don't know that. So I'll get drawings from kids, and it's like Robin and Hellboy and Action Cat all in one drawing. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. And I call it the Baltazar universe, the Oh Yeah universe.
I like that.
So I know that everyone in the comic book universe can meet Action Cat, and it's so weird because I know Action Cat met Robin, he met Hellboy, he met all kinds of people, because they're in a pinup together, or kids make it happen, So Action Cat meets Crypto, because it's proof. I get a drawing in the mail with them teaming up, so it's kind of fun.
Aww.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the actual mission statement of Yeah Comics then?
For the publishing mission statement, like, first of all, yeah, it's the most positive thing you could say, and I'm a big fan of doing it yourself. And Oh Yeah Comics publishing is a thing that we self-publish. We've been self-publishing forever. When I was self-publishing myself, and then when I met Franco, he was self-publishing his books. And we have a lot of digital books on Comixology. I have an Oh Yeah Comics publishing page on Comixology, which is really cool, because if I want to make a comic book and put it out there for people to read, I always have digital, because I don't have to save thousands of dollars to make a print run. And so you could read, I think we got like 85 different issues. I think we got 85 issues on Comixology for like 99 cents each. But I think there's like 15 or 16, 17 titles and 85 books. So it's pretty nuts. So that's a cool outlet to self-publish. You always have digital. And eventually after my deadlines, current deadlines, probably in the next few months, I want to figure out how to make more books, print them up, and probably print them just for shows, just for fans, just to sell them individually to my people like I used to in 1991, 92. And so I guess the mission statement is we're all about doing it yourself, make your comics, be who you are. And Oh Yeah Comics is, oh yeah, is the most positive thing anyone could tell you. We say, you want a burrito? Oh yeah, burrito. See? You want some ketchup on those fries? Oh yeah, ketchup. You know? There's no doubt in my mind that I want some cheese on my fries. Yeah. Oh yeah, cheese. Oh yeah, cheese fries. I think that's what we're eating for dinner today. That's what I put in. I'll take cheese fries. You know,
Take some cheese fries
not too much though. High carbs, you know.
And so then on the retailer side of that, the retailer, I want you to kind of give us some input on why you think it's important that people shop local and shop at their local comic shops.
Well, yeah, you have to you have to keep local shops alive. That's for sure. And when we first opened up, we wanted our shop to be different than any other comic shop. And we wanted our clientele to be family. We wanted it to be moms, dads, kids. And the first customer who came in was like a 14-year-old girl. And the second customer who came in was the same girl, and she brought 2 more kids. So it's a little brother and a friend or something. And we're like, this is working. And we encourage at our store, we encourage loitering. We encourage hanging out. We have chairs and stuff, and we make it real hard for you to leave. And you don't even have to buy anything. Just come in and hang out and talk to our guys. And it's just fun. And we just wanted to be in, we love comics so much that we wanted to do every aspect of comics. I want to make them. I want to publish them. I want to sell other people's comics. I want comic shops. I want to wear T-shirts with the comics on them. I want to watch cartoons about comics, see movies about comics. I want to do all of these things. And so when we made a comic shop, we want to establish like a clubhouse, almost like a community, so we can all like hang out together. And it's a safety-free zone. You come over, we'll protect you. You know, it's like everyone in shop wears it's like having your own cape. You have an invisible cape and you walk in. Yeah. So it's just fun. And it's a way of life. Comics is not a choice for us. It's we have to do it. We have to. There's no way around it. It's like you have to have breakfast. Yeah,
you have to have comics.
Oh yeah, comics is like eating breakfast. You need it every day.
Now we have some comments from some readers or watchers I want to go ahead and read out here. Jennifer saying, hello, Art. Thank you for the poster.
Oh, Jennifer, you're welcome.
Wilcox.
Yeah, happy birthday to Garrett. Yeah, I know her. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then Troy is saying, saw you at a convention a few years back. You were very friendly with my daughter who loved Tiny Titans and drew a great picture for her. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, Troy. Yeah, I love meeting the kids at shows and conventions. I love it. And when we go to conventions, I make sure that I get enough sleep. I eat a good breakfast every day, because when those kids come in, when they line up, they don't care if you're hurting, if you're sleepy, or if you're hungry. They want to meet you. And I try to look my best. I try to wear like a tie and a hat and suit and all this stuff. And I want the experience for the fans to be magical. Like, I want it to be amazing. It's kind of like when we turn on a character on TV. Like, remember when we're kids, we watch like I don't know, like Captain Kangaroo. You're probably way too young for that, but Captain Kangaroo, or when Chicago had a lot of like B.J. Thomas and Dirty Dragon and Ray Rayner show, where these guys, they were like, or when you go watch Yo Gabba Gabba, that's probably like when you see DJ Lance, he always has that orange suit on with that puffy hat. Like, if you meet him and he doesn't look like that, like, you're going to be disappointed. And I actually met DJ Lance about 2 years ago at Comic-Con at San Diego, and I saw him from across the room, and I stopped drawing I got from my table and ran to him. I said, DJ Lance, and nobody was around him. And I gave him a big hug. And that's the experience. Like meeting DJ Lance. It was larger than life. Like to me, that was a moment. Like I met the guy, and then I took a picture and I showed my kids, and they said, "You're so lucky," So I want to show up to the convention like that. Like I want to be a character that kids and fans, they get to meet. They meet the famous cartoonist. They don't meet the guy who has to throw out his garbage on Tuesday. They meet the famous cartoonist. They're like, wow, he was cool, and then that's how I know, like, it's kind of like when you're at a convention, you're who you are, but you're also performing. You're on stage. That's the stage. You have to make sure you look nice. You're not hurting. Don't stay out too late. We always have snacks and beverages, and I stay hydrated. And so when people come to see you, you have to be on. Like, hey, how you doing? Stuff like that, and not over exaggerate. You just have to be cool and friendly and nice. And when the kids want to draw, like that. When the kids want you to draw stuff, they just want a character, and it's so much fun. I love where they could see me draw, because I like when they're real little and you see their elbows and their hands go up there and you see their elbows on your table and their arms only about that big, and it's fun. It's fun to see that. And most kids, when they meet me, they get real shy and they hide behind their moms and dads. And but that's fun. It's just fun stuff. I really like it. I miss conventions for that stuff. The traveling is what I don't enjoy as much. But once I'm there, man, is it cool. Once you're there and you get a good night's sleep in your hotel room and you go to the conventions and see the people and waiting in line and people waiting for stuff to sign. And one of the biggest thrills too is when people take stuff out of their bag. And it's a copy you had that forever, and it's all beat up. And the kid, you can tell the kid chewed on it and he ate on it and all kinds of stuff. And he goes, Mr. Baltazar, and they wipe it off. Can you sign here? Here, I'll clean the spot right here. And you sign it, and then they just light up. They look at it and big smile on their face. That's cool. That's something that you can't plan for. It just happens, and I love it. It's so cool. Yeah.
That's sweet. I think we have a couple more. Let's see. Kevin saying, "Oh yeah, tacos."
Oh yeah, tacos. It's my buddy Kevin Bixby. Yeah. Hey, we got to get Harold's Chicken soon.
David, hi Art. Great to see you talking about Oh Yeah comics. I've been a fan for a long time and even contributed to the Kickstarter years ago.
Oh, cool.
Tiny Titans are still some of my kids' favorite comics.
Oh, thanks, David. Yeah, man. I'm trying to wrap up a lot of things now, and hopefully I'm going to be making some more Oh Yeah comics characters and digital things, and I got a lot of plans. We'll see. I got more plans that I have time for. I think I got like 60 years of plans, and I don't know if I have 60 years on this end still, but we'll see. I'm going to take vitamins, get all this stuff done.
So we have Brad popping up with Art is so great to his fans. He makes you feel like a friend.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you for being my friend. Yeah, you guys are. You're part of my world. Nobody's here is just random. It's all because we found each other. You're part of my world. I need you. It's true.
Well, Joseph says he loves your whole vibe, Art. And people
thanks.
like you are why I love my local comic hangouts.
Yeah. Thanks, Joseph. You're awesome.
And the next time a waiter asks if you want dessert, I'm going to say, "Oh yeah, dessert."
Oh yeah, dessert. See, there's no doubt in the waiter's mind. He said, this guy wants dessert. You want some ice cream? Oh yeah, ice cream. Cake? Oh yeah, cake. You got to say, bring it. You got to do like The Rock did. Matrix style. Bring it.
Right.
Oh yeah, Franco. Oh yeah, brother. There's Franco. Yeah. He's a good man, that guy. He's my brother.
You guys, this is the most wholesome conversation.
Yeah.
I'm really loving this.
Yeah, you got to get rid of the bad stuff. If it hurts, stop doing it. The analogy is, did you ever go to school when you're a kid and your shoes hurt all day and are too tight? But then you don't throw them where you're like, where maybe they won't hurt next time. But they keep hurting you. So you know what you do? You get rid of those shoes and buy a pair that fits. And I always say that you don't keep wearing the shoes that hurt your feet. If they hurt your feet, throw away the shoes, get some new shoes. So don't do anything in your life that hurts unless, no, we won't go there. But if it hurts, you stop doing that. You do stuff that doesn't hurt, do things that make you feel good. And you wake up every morning and do something that's going to make you happy. even if it's hard to do. I know it's hard to do for a lot of people. You wake up and you're like dreading the day. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But maybe it's just that cup of coffee that makes you feel better. Maybe it's like having the brownie your daughter made last night. You know, something. There's got to be a positive thing you could find every day with your life. And I learned that, you know, you got to do it.
Oh, I love this.
If everything hurts you every day, you're going to be miserable. Your friends are going to leave you alone and they're not going to care. No one's going to care. I haven't heard from him. Is he okay? But there's always should be one guy in your group said, yeah, he's fine. I just talked to him yesterday. You know, there should be something like that going on in your community, in your world, in your circle of friends, in your Justice League, if you will.
Your Justice League. I
You're
love
part
that.
of my Justice League now. You guys are like Justice League International. Yeah.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, fire and ice.
Like that.
Yes. All right. Now, if people want to find out more information on the Aw Yeah Comic Shop, you can find more info on them at awyeahcomics.com. And while you're there, you can pick up some Aw Yeah comic titles, which would be perfect if you have a young reader in your family. Yeah. And speaking of reading, let's check in on what our guests are doing or drawing or writing or watching or creating. It's time for What Are You Doing? So we want to ask each of our guests, what are you doing? We want to know, what are you doing to pass the time over the past few weeks? And to those of you watching, let us know in the comments what you're doing by using hashtag what are you doing? Let's go ahead and start with you, Ashton. Give us a little look at what Ashton's been doing.
Okay. So Ashton's been watching a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was crying on Wednesday night. I'm like, wow, I really arrived here watching Avatar, crying about it. And something I realized while watching it, so it originally aired on Nickelodeon between 2005 and 2008. So I was like 10, 11, 12, 13 while it was on air. And so I'm watching it, and some things I'm like, okay, I remember this. Like, okay, I remember this. Like, I have recollection of this. And then occasionally something will happen, and I'll have like, it'll be a total shock. I'll be completely surprised. Like, I have no recollection of ever seeing like this particular event happen. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Avatar end of season 2, I'm going to spoil it for you. So mute it or something. I'll wave my arms when I'm done talking. When Azula kills Aang while he's in the Avatar state, I almost died. Because I didn't like have any memory of that. And Roku's like, if you die in the Avatar state, like that's it for the Avatar, it's done. And I was like, this is horrible. This is bad news. This is not it. Because I had no memory of that happening the first time I watched it. So that was shocking to me. Okay, I'm done.
That's awesome.
Ashton with her double trauma. You had it once as a kid, you forgot about it, and then you watched it again.
And also I've been like running around the house like, Appa, yip yip, and my mom's like, can you stop?
I feel yip yip is the new phrase for 2020.
Right.
Yip 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 yip. That's almost as positive as oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yip yip, and oh yeah. What about you, Art? What have you been up to?
Oh man, I haven't stopped working. It's weird that I'm busier now than I've ever been in my life, but I've been watching lots of streaming lots of shows. I have these two screens when I work. I draw on one and watch on the other. I've already watched Breaking Bad like 13 times, and I might start that again. I watched Better Call Saul 4 times, but I go back and I watch all these sitcoms because in the 90s, I was real poor and I didn't get to see a lot of TV. So I just watched all of Seinfeld. I watched all of Friends. I saw Frasier. I watched all these shows, but I'm in the middle of Big Bang Theory right now. And there's a lot of shows. There's a lot of episodes I haven't seen. I'm like on seasons 5 or 6. And I've also been watching Clone Wars, and man, Clone Wars was awesome. And I got Disney Plus. I watch all those. I watch all the Mandalorians and all that stuff. But when they announced they were doing season 7 of Clone Wars, I needed to watch it. I'm like, oh, this is I've been hearing things like people say the last episode is awesome and all this, and it fits in here and there. And so I'm like, and then Ahsoka Tano's supposed to show up in Mandalorian season 2. And so I went back and watched it. And season 1, I love season 1, and people have said, season 1's the worst, But I'm like, but this is good. How can you say this is bad? And so season 1 is episode by episode. But once I got to season 2, man, it's so good. Like 3 or 4 episodes continue. It's like a little mini movies. And if you're watching the show and it's just the spaceships and robots, it looks like the movies. And I'm so blown away by it. And I was watching it while I was working, but then I tried it with the boys. I got 2 boys upstairs, and I put the show on, and now they started sitting with me, and we watched like 3 or 4 episodes in a row. Now I can't watch it without them. Like, so I'll probably watch it. Like, it was one of my streaming shows while I work. That's why I started watching Big Bang Theory. So now on Saturdays, we usually watch it, which like 5, 6 episodes, just put it on for 2 hours. And that's what I'll probably do tomorrow with my coffee. So I've been into that, and Star Wars has always been with me forever. And I'm so glad they're making more. Just make good ones, you know, just make them good and awesome, and I'll watch them.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't think you're asking for a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get you with the whole, like, I start watching something and then I'm like, oh, honey, you should watch this. And my husband's like, oh, yeah, I want to watch it too. And I'm like, dang it, now I can't watch this without you. Like, why do I tell you?
My wife loves it when she's like, oh, we got an episode. We watched that show where they work on the boat. Was it Below Deck? Below Deck.
Yeah.
They're all waitresses and servants and boat people. And I like that show, but there's a point where where I'm like, well, how long is the episode? It's a 2-hour episode. You go ahead and watch it. And then she kind of likes that when I free her, you can watch it. And then I'll show up later. Just if I show up on the 3rd or 4th episode, just let me know who loves who and where it left off. But it's so I'm okay when you could free yourself of binge watching. And there's a lot of things I haven't watched. Eventually I'll get to them, but the big thing is when people say, you've never seen Game of Thrones, and I almost feel like it's homework. Like, I got to watch it now, but I will eventually. It's on the list, you know, but sometimes binge watching to me feels like homework. Just let me pick and choose. But a lot of times I watch the same thing over and over and over. I'll watch the same. I already saw Mandalorian about 4 times too. So I'll just watch the same shows over and over just to have them in my head while I'm drawing. So it's true. Mm-hmm.
That's a good, I mean, you got to do it. You got your favorite shows that you can watch. And I do it the same way. Like, I watch stuff while I'm working. So I totally get that idea of like, all right, put on something I've seen, and then I don't have to worry about it. And then catch up on sitcoms to understand memes.
Yeah. That's right. I get that reference, like Captain America said. That's true.
All right, let's see if we have any comments on here. Let's see. We've got Brad saying, I have been drawing at night with Art or Franco and Kevin Bixby for many evenings.
Yeah, he's one of my when I do live shows at night and morning, he's always chiming in. That Brad, he's a good man.
Joseph is saying, I'm going to school for creative writing at Full Sail University, and I take comic book writing last year. Or later this year. I'm doing a lot of writing. That's really awesome. That's really cool to hear that there's a comic book writing class.
Yeah. And if there's not, just make it into your, like, take fiction writing and where you can write stories and poems and do all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah.
So you've got Roberta. I've been filling up pages of adult coloring, hours and hours worth while watching movies. Ooh. Yeah,
that'll get you going.
Andrew Clark, watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. final season, superhero shows on CW, and reading Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Martin, I am painting Judge Anderson for a 2000 AD comic art competition. Ooh. That's really cool. Everyone's got some exciting stuff going on.
People are busy. You can't go outside.
Exactly. What else do we do?
You can, but you're not supposed to. People go out anyway.
Well, now let's move on into our next segment first.
You always remember your first.
So anyone who knows comics knows that fans really love their first issues and first appearances. For first, we talk about some of the momentous comic book firsts that happened in our lives. And on this episode, we want to ask, what was the first comic book that made you cry? Or sad? I mean, it could be tears of joy or sadness. And for those of you watching, let us know in the comments what your first was by using #first. So, Art, let's start with you. What comic made you cry?
I got 2. There's Peter Parker, of course, with Gwen Stacy, and that whole story where they freaked him out and they cloned her and a jackal scratched him. And that one got me so filled with emotion and Peter crying. But one of the ones I remember reading, there's two, maybe, and there's a bunch. But one of them was one of the X-Men when Dark Phoenix died. And I felt Cyclops. I felt Cyclops' pain when he yelled, Jean. I forget which book it was, but there was several. There's one where she died and then one where she came back. The one where she came back and she grabbed him and threw him. I felt for Cyclops. I was real. I'm a fan of Cyclops. I think he's awesome, but he got his heart broken a lot. And then of course, the death of Superman. That's like Cyclops and Gwen Stacy. When Gwen Stacy died, I was a kid, and I read that. It was one of my first ones I read, and that one got me mad at the Green Goblin. I hated him after that, and I'm like, oh man, and to this day, I know that Gwen Stacy in the comics is his true love before Mary Jane. Mary Jane she helped him forget about Gwen, but in the modern times, it was Death of Superman. But what made me sad about Death of Superman is when I hear Louise Simonson talk about it in interviews. And then I go back and read it. And it's when Lois Lane and Mama Kent hugged and they finally met. She knocked on Mama Kent's door and she opened it and she knew who she was without even saying a thing. And she just hugged her. And that was the moment, like, wow, that's powerful. So that as an adult, I read that, or whenever that came out. I was physically an adult, but maybe not mentally. But I'm still. But that was a good moment. Good moment in comics.
Oh, that's sad. What about you, Ashton? What about you? What's your sad cry moment?
Yeah, so mine's actually The Walking Dead 193, which feels kind of silly because it's such a recent comic that I would say something so recent like moved me to tears. It wouldn't be something earlier than that, but it's kind of like the whole like wave of emotion from the end of 192, which I don't want to spoil things, but I kind of feel like I have to for like what I'm trying to say here to make sense. But like the 192 ends the way it does with Rick, and I'm gonna try and dance around it. And at the end of that, like, I was so mad about it. I was so mad. I was like, after all of this, like, Rick deserves so much better. Everything he did for everybody, and like, it goes down like that. It was so unfair and enraging. And then you get to 193, and they go to bury him, and Michonne's like, some people want to come, and it's like literally everybody. And it's such an emotional moment because it's like, you know what? Like, Rick did deserve better. And he kind of got that in the way he impacted everybody, that they felt compelled to go out of their way for him like that. And it's kind of like, it's really powerful because it's a total juxtaposition of like the entire story up to there is about like people fighting against each other and trying to get, the upper hand and how they can use each other to survive and get food and get this and get that. And then it's like, when push came to shove, like everybody still had their humanity, even though that was something they seemed to be fighting against and fighting for the entire way through. So that is my answer.
Yeah, I know all of that stuff you're talking about. That's good. Yeah.
It's always really the cool deaths of the characters that, really just kind of get to you. And I think the medium of comics kind of lends to it because it's like you have that visual aspect along with like the story. Like from your perspective, Art, what is it about comics? Like, how is it that they get to us so much? Like, what is it, the power of comics that make us want to cry? What do you think?
I think once you identify with the character and you see yourself at times in a lot of characters, and like for Peter Parker, you could say, yeah, that's what I do. I know how you're feeling. And so you're so invested in them, and it's just artwork. It's a flat piece of paper with drawing on there and story and words, but you're so into their world, it pulls you in a world. And comics, not only are you pulled in a world, but the book itself is very personal to you. It becomes a personal thing. Green Goblin killing Gwen Stacy, spoiler, sorry, is it's such a personal thing to you because you read these characters and all of a sudden, bam, that's how he hurt Peter. Or Dark Phoenix, Jean Grey dying. That's how you read up into this point, and then she's gone. And I think it's just a personal thing because when especially with comics, like you go to the comic shop and you buy what you like and you buy what you want to read, and you read them by yourself, you buy them by yourself, and not many people ask you. Well, in my experience, like I would read comics in the back of the car when mom would go and grocery shop. I'd wait in the car, and then when I'd see her, I help her with the groceries and all this stuff. But that was it. You're in your zone, and so I think that's what makes it so personal. And I'm learning that too with now that the kids have iPads and screens. TV's becoming that way in TV shows, where you binge watch your own shows and you do it by yourself. But if you watch it with somebody, you got to wait and all this stuff. But my kids will take they'll watch Stranger Things, but they'll watch it on their phone or their iPads. So TV's becoming a very personal thing too, like that. And one of the things I wanted to point out, like comics and movies and all this stuff, one of the shows that made me cry, but charged me up with anger, I was mad, was the last episode of How I Met Your Mother. That was one of the binge watching things where I binge watch all the shows. Like, oh, I'll watch this. And I saw the last episode and I'm like, what? No. And I got mad and I went upstairs and complained to my wife about it. And then Ted and then this and the mother. Oh, I was so mad. And I'll never watch that show again because I know how it ends. I can't even watch it. I see it on TV now, and I'm like, oh, this one. I have to change it.
I don't want this.
I liked all of it. And with the episode where Marshall's dad died, oh, that got me. That messed me up. And I had to take a break. And same with Fluffy. You know that Fluffy, the comedian? Iglesias? One of his episodes, a stand-up comedy, made me cry because he was talking about his stepson. And then I had to turn it like, all right, dude. So things like that get me. But I'll never watch that show again because I know where it goes. I know Ted is stupid and he wasted his time, and the kids and the mom. She had like, oh my God, why didn't they introduce her a lot earlier? And I don't know. I was so mad. You can't wrap up a whole story in 20 minutes. Okay, anyway, boom, done. That was it. Ted's wasted his time. He never loved his wife. Stupid guy. I hated it so much.
This is the best rant ever. I love it.
It should have went another season. So
Joseph agrees with you. Totally messed up at the end. I was Ted Mosby. Oh.
Yeah. I didn't like Ted. I wanted to choke him. I was like, what's wrong with you, man? Why are you going after Robin? She wants an independent woman. Just leave her alone. And then they and I'm ruining everything. And then her and Barney, that was dumb too. All of it was so dumb. The last 3 episodes are so bad. I hope Clone Wars makes up for it, but I heard it does.
All right, wait. Before we go into a full-on rant about How I Met Your Mother, I got to get into some of the viewer comments. So Kevin is saying Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 36, the 9/11 issue.
Yeah.
Well, that just sobered us all up, right?
Yeah.
Very fast.
The thing that got me in that issue is when Dr. Doom was mad. Dr. Doom, how dare they do this to my city? You know, because he didn't get to destroy it, but he was mad at the terrorists. That was a cool moment. When Dr. Doom's mad with you, man, something's wrong. Or Magneto was crying too. He's pissed off too. I mean, sorry, I swore there. But I'm a dad and stuff. 2-car garage, family, house, dog. So I can say stuff like that.
Brad is saying my first comic that made me cry was Peter Parker's final issue of Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was good too. My God, there's a whole bunch. That I read that, and I read all Ultimate Spider-Man, and when he died, I stopped reading it. I was like, oh, good, I can finish. I love when stuff ends, and I know Miles Morales is awesome, but I never read Miles until we saw the movie. And even when we went to see the movie, and I brought the kids, and my daughter's 14, my son's 16, and she was about, whenever that came out, 2 years ago, she was about 12, whatever. And so at the end of the movie, she said, was Miles Morales always Spider-Man? I'm like, no. She goes, well, when did he become Spider-Man? I said, today. She went, oh, I like Miles Morales as Spider-Man. I'm like, it stuck. It worked. You know? So that was my first experience too.
Yeah.
I always go off on these tangents. Sorry.
No, you're good. That's awesome. But we will move on to our last segment called Top Picks. All right. For this round of Top Picks, we want to ask you, what are your top all ages comics? And you can let us know in the comments by using hashtag Top Picks. Let's start with Ashton. What's your top pick for all ages comics?
Yeah, so I have two here. The first one is very specific. Last year, Halloween Comic Fest 2019, Golden Apple Books did it's called Blastosaurus Halloween Special, and I loved this book so much. It's by Richard Fairgray. He writes it and does the art. And Blastosaurus is basically a rhinoceros. No, he's not. He's a Triceratops. That's what he is. He's a Triceratops. He had a horn. He's a Triceratops superhero, and he basically runs around saving people from ridiculous crimes. But this particular one, because it was a Halloween book, was a bit of a departure from that normal goofiness, and it focused more on how you relate to other people and how you treat other people and kind of how that affects your reality and how realities vary from person to person and what you can kind of do to impact your realities and how that impacts you back. It was really quite a hole to go down, and I was pondering life after I read it. And it's an all ages book, and it's totally accessible. It's not way out there that a kid wouldn't understand it, but if you really read into that, get a lot out of it. And then also Tales from Vader's Castle. I love it. It's incredible. Kevin Scott and Derek Charm. And I love Derek Charm's art. He's done some Free Comic Book Day stuff too. It's a really fun way to kind of explore the spookiest side of Darth Vader without it being quite so foreboding and evil. So those are spooky one-shot stories of things that have gone on in the Empire. So highly recommend that one.
Perfect.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I think we got a picture of it. There we go.
Oh, nice.
Tales from Vader's Castle.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Cool. Yeah, that's what Star Wars need is Vader. Put Vader in everything. If I had Star Wars, he'd be in everything. He'd be in Mandalorian. He'd be in Clone Wars. He'd be in everything. It would be called the Darth Vader channel. That was a big.
I love that. I would too.
Yeah. One of my picks, I always pick my friends' books, mostly because those are the books I see the most. Because my friends give me their books, and anything by Yehudi Mercado is good. He's got a book called Fun World right now, which is awesome. And anything by my friend Katie Cook. She has a web comic called Nothing Special. I think it's on Webtoons. That's really fun to read. Anything by Chris Giarrusso. I love Chris Giarrusso, the Mini Marvels guy. I worked with him on Encounter. Me and Franco wrote a space alien superhero, and Chris was able to draw it, and I always wanted to work with him. And anything by Scoot McMahon and Dave Scheidt wrapped up. I love Jamie Cosley with Blue Scar. All of my friends, I'm so blessed and privileged to have all of these famous cartoonist guys along with my famous cartoonist journey. And of course, I always pick my own books for people to check out. And I got new ones. I'm going to show you. I'm going to go. This is old school. This is my old school digital. This is Gilbert. Gilbert just came out last January, and here's volume 1. Volume 1, volume 2 of Gilbert. I'm working on that. And my DC comic, Superman Smallville. That one's pretty cool. And my newest one, I'm real proud of this, was Drew and Jot from Boom Studios. This was a book about a kid who draws in a sketchbook. So when you read the book, you're actually reading his sketchbook. See, it's all crazy, silly.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
And my own superheroes too. Powers in Action. These guys I made up in high school, and I finally get to I found the world finally gets to see them. So, which is really cool. And so when I the stuff I always read is stuff that my friends gave me. So do it. All those guys are awesome. All those people I said are awesome.
Oh, you guys have some great picks. Let's see. Are there any picks from the audience? Well, we got D. Brad saying that he likes the show, so I will always take that.
Oh, yeah.
And he also likes Tintin, Asterix, Bone, and Art's Tiny Titans. Oh, yeah, all ages.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Usagi no Yojimbo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
a good
good
one.
too.
Good pick.
That's a long running series too. It's been going like 30 years.
See, David saying, recently my youngest kid has been enjoying some of the DC Comics trade paperbacks for kids, Diana, Princess of the Amazons, and Zatanna and the House of Secrets. Ooh,
Ooh, okay.
those sound really good.
Yeah, the DC ones are really cool and they're real different. And the cool thing about it is when you read them, it's not what you expect.
Mhm.
So it's real cool to see that the different takes on different characters. Yeah, it's real fun.
This is awesome. And we've got some great recommendations. And, well, I think we're coming to the close of our show. But before we end, let's go around and do some plugs. So starting with Ashton, is there anything that you want to promote? And then where can people find you online?
Yeah, so you can find me online on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Free Comic Book Day. Come hang out there. We're doing polls. We're yelling into the void about our particular comic book opinions. We're trying to find a solution for Free Comic Book Day, I'll say, for this year. So those will also be your resources when we make an announcement about that, as well as the website. And then also the comeback.
Our comeback.
You can find us on Back the Comeback, also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can participate in the social media challenge, shout out your favorite local comic or game store, tag 5 friends, challenge them to do the same. And also, if you can do so safely, try and get out and support your local comic book store because they are hurting and we love them. They are hubs of our community. And so we want to show them a little extra love right now and back the comeback.
Perfect. What about you, Art? Is there anything that you'd like to promote? And where can people find you online?
The best place is probably artbaltazar.com. Go to my links page, and I have links, about 100 links to all these social media things. I'm everywhere. I'm Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have a t-shirt shop on Threadless. I have, I'm all over the place, and I'm always working. I always have books coming out. Yeah, there's links with the sausage link. Yeah, all of that stuff. I have a YouTube channel. We have a podcast. We have a Patreon. I have t-shirts. I have eBay. I'm all over the place. I'm always doing stuff. And social media and online internet stuff is keeping me really busy lately. But I'm working on a book with DC Comics called Archimaniacs, which is out, I think, in December. I'm working on Drew and Jot #2, Gilbert #3, and more and more stuff. I'm always working. And it never goes away. When I finish, I make more stuff. That's good. I have to.
That's how it should be.
Yeah,
I'm born to do this. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that about does it for Comic Talk. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us on probably the most wholesome show that we've ever had, and happy times. We do this every Friday at 4 p.m., so be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can get notified whenever we go live. Also, tune in on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. for Previews Game Night, where we get together and play some games where you can join the audience and play along. Also, every Wednesday is Previews World Weekly, also at 4 p.m. And you can find all of these shows by checking out Previews World on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Until next time, remember, not all heroes wear capes, but right now a lot have to wear masks. Bye.